Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Okay, so you go to a place in the middle of the summer, dressed like it's the 15th century. You buy a bunch of handcrafted stuff, and you eat turkey legs and stay drunk all day, and everybody's running around acting crazy. Yeah, this sounds awesome.
Welcome to episode 166 of Nerdery and Murdery.
166. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows and the ups and downs, the good and the bad and the nerd and the murd. Oh man, went to Nashville a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it excuse me. Everybody there was saying it was hot. It was like 80s and overcast.
Oh, those poor summer children.
And so I was there for the week. Like I said, 80s and overcast. To me, it was nice.
Springtime.
I got home and stepped out of the airport, and I was like, oh my God, this humidity is just stifling. Oh, it was, I couldn't believe after just a week, it's unbelievable, the difference, and to sit there and say 80s that it was hot was just beyond me. I don't know that they could take the 100 degrees that we get down here. I mean, I practically get heat exhaustion every weekend down here. Man, though, if you ever go to Nashville, Hattie B's, you got to have that chicken. You got to have that chicken, Hattie B's.
All right.
I had their the last time I went, I had the medium heat.
Hmm.
Um, and I decided, and I thought, it's a good heat, but I could take it up to the next step, not thinking that the next step was going to be that much hotter. It was. It
It
was.
was it wasn't just an increase, it was several degrees more.
Yes.
It was a
Yes.
factoring.
It was good. It was
Yeah.
really good. I enjoyed it, but
Yeah, but boy, if it's spicy going down, you know it's gonna be spicy
yeah.
coming out.
Yeah. But definitely Hattie B's is a must if you're in Nashville. It's in the Midtown area. Actually, I
Okay.
think there may be a couple of them.
So that Nashville chicken, it's like spicy, but also with pickles, right?
They didn't have no. Did they have? I can't remember if they've served it with pickles or not. To be honest,
Okay.
I don't know. I had it with coleslaw and potato salad. Potato salad
Yeah.
was okay. The potato salad was a little vinegary, but the coleslaw
How
was really good.
coleslaw's good.
Yeah, the coleslaw was really good. But yeah, it was good. I just recommend definitely recommend Hattie B's. They've got one in the airport too,
Oh, nice.
so I know they've got at least two. Um, and then it was and another thing that was so funny. So we've had two geeks and a microphone on our show, and we both
Yes.
listen to them. We love them.
Yes.
Um, they do a live show every Saturday morning. They're live on various platforms, and when I get a chance to listen in, I like to, and I know Zig does as well. And
I
it
try to
was
avoid spoilers for myself. That's the only
yes,
thing I try to avoid. It's like,
yeah.
oh shit, I haven't seen that yet. I don't want to hear this now.
Well, I joined them not too very long ago live just to listen. Um, and when I'm there, I like to just say, "Hey guys," let them know I'm there, and they always like to respond to people that are
Yeah.
that are watching live. And and I said, "Hey guys, just joined for a few minutes before I head out to the golf course." And then when I didn't hear it when I was live, but as I was listening back to the full episode live, after I said that, I heard Steven go, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about that." I gave them both so much shit over Facebook Messenger about that. I told him, I said, "Oh, I'm just not going to listen anymore." It was funny because I mean, he just says it under his breath, and it's so
Yeah, I'm not
funny.
gonna
And I don't even know that
I'm not
he
gonna
that
talk
he
about
that he
that.
meant to say that. It was funny.
I don't want to talk about
It was so funny. I mean, because I know I can get obsessed with
that.
golf. I got new golf balls, and I was telling somebody at work about them, and that led down a path they probably didn't want to go, where they had to hear um, uh, all the ins and outs of why these golf balls were so much better than the others. Are like, well, do they hit farther? And I went, well, the balls don't really impact the hitting farther. They can a little bit, but and I went into all this thing, and it was so funny. I think the person regretted asking me about that.
Asking the question.
Yes, so it was funny, but yeah. So
The whole point of the balls is to make them easier to see, right? That's
well, it depends. So depending on the color of the grass and the color of the ball, honestly, white. s- Strangely enough, white shows up the best.
well,
Um,
it makes sense.
you get these bright red ones that I really like them. They're Callaway, and they're bright red, and you think you could see those real well. I can't even see those off the tee. People hit the reds, I lose them as soon as they're gone. Um, Greens are horrible. I
Yeah.
can't see
Yeah.
green at all.
Why would you use a green golf ball?
Blues are about as bad. Yellows, I can see those in the air real well. Somebody's hitting yellow, I can see those. Um, but blues and greens, definitely not. Mine's called a Volvic, and it has a rainbow colored stripe around it, and I see those pretty well. I use the stripe for alignment. So I'm
Ah,
very much a fan of the stripe. I've got a Sharpies and a little marking tool where I can do these straight line stripes, so I can help with alignment. Because believe me, on putting, it helps a lot. Especially when you're looking at the break on the green and whatnot, aligning up your ball correctly is can take a stroke off your game or two. So But anyway, yeah, there you go. More you want to know about golf than
Yeah,
than
golf.
you
The
thought.
show is now about golf.
And once again, golf takes over the show.
Show. We had a radio show in DFW that they would do that occasionally.
Yes,
Oh, was it golf or tennis?
golf, golf. Yeah, that's the ticket in Dallas Fort Worth, and one of their co-hosts is very, very into golf. And so, when the Masters and all that kind of stuff is on, he really gets into that. So, all right, you got anything before I let you take it over?
Went roller skating yesterday.
No,
I,
cool.
I was good for about half hour,
Yeah,
but I pushed it to about an hour, and then my knees were just killing me, so I had to get out.
that
But it was
sucks.
good. It
Sorry,
was
man.
good exercise.
Yeah,
Oh no, the kids were skating the whole time, and I was able to sit there and have some fries. It was awesome. We went to the Gator Skate, which is it. It's like a 1980s skating rink,
uh-huh.
just plucked out of time and there. That's so it's awesome,
All right,
awesome, awesome.
all right. Well, cool. Well, I'll let you go ahead and take it all off.
Today we're
Or
going to talk about Renaissance fairs.
cool. Well, and you had mentioned that in the stab about going on to sorry, we had a pause for technical difficulty. I was just saying you said in the stab um in the summertime. They're not all in the summer.
No, but most of them down here are in the summer.
Yes. Renfest is in October.
Yeah. Um, there's a really nice one up here too that a lot of people are going. Not TRF is in like September and October, so it's better.
Yeah, I think it's October, and Renfest is huge.
Yeah. Sherwood Forest is a little later.
Hmm.
The one that's in DFW, Scarborough Fair, is right at the beginning of summer, and it is ungodly. It can be ungodly hot, and
Yes.
sometimes you'll get a little bit of overcast and rain. It's great.
Hmm.
But when you're wearing layers of stuff, it's not the best. Um, Ren Fair. So, a Renaissance or medieval fair is an outdoor gathering that aims to entertain its guests by recreating a historical setting, most often the English Renaissance. Renaissance fairs generally include costume entertainers or fairgoers, musical and theatrical acts, art and handicrafts for sale, and festival foods. These fairs are open to the public and typically commercial. Some are permanent theme parks, while others are short-term, even in events at a fairground, winery, or other large spaces. Some Renaissance fairs offer campgrounds for those who wish to stay more than one day. Many Renaissance fairs are set during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I of England. Some are set earlier during the reign of King Henry VIII, or in other countries such as France. Others are set outside the era of the Renaissance. These may include earlier medieval periods such as the Viking Age, or later periods such as the Golden Age of piracy. Some engage in deliberate time travel by encouraging participants to wear costumes representing several eras in a broad time period. Renaissance fairs encourage visitors to engage with costumes and audience participation, often renting outfits. Fairgoers many welcome fantasy elements like wizards and elves. Um, Speaking of handicrafts, I'm gonna do that. Just have that cup.
You had
Here's
you
one.
had
Here's
you
one.
oh
Here's one. Here's a sword. Oh, come on. There it is. This thing's 20 years old and has
uh
been used in childhood combat several times. It's wood and it's still very well made. I've got a cup from Scarborough Fair that's 20 years old, 22 years old. Looks brand new. So yes, the handicrafts are expensive.
It
I
can be,
mean,
yeah.
can be, but most of them are fairly decent quality. They try to make things in an old fashioned way where it was meant to last forever.
Hmm.
And that Scarborough Fair cup is, I still drink coffee out of it all the time. And it's a really nice one. My wife worked at the waxed hand booth for years and years and years because the guy who owned it was a friend of hers. It, I mean, it's almost like a break even process, but he keeps that open, um, that waxed hand booth open in Scarborough Fair because it's the only thing he's got in Scarborough Fair now, like TRF and Sherwood and some of the other ones. I think there's one up in Michigan where he runs like food vendor carts and stuff like that. That's where he makes all his money.
Hmm.
Um, but I mean, most of the people live in communities in and around Austin. One called Greenbrier specifically, um, where these people basically overwinter. Um,
I thought some of these people did different Ren Fest, like they traveled.
yeah, yeah. Dave travels.
Okay.
Dave's got. He likes to do TRF in and Sherwood because they're close to his house.
Hmm.
But there's a bit of an overlap with, I think, Sherwood and Scarborough, so he has to split his time.
Hmm.
He still got the waxed hand booth, and that was actually his invention. Someone decided they wanted to, because he was a candle maker. Someone decided they wanted to wax their hand, and now every Renfest does it.
Hmm.
Um, Makes a little wax hands. It's really cool. I've still got some around the house. She hasn't done it in a couple of years just because the drive was a killer. Because we're in Azle, and that one is outside of Waxahachie, and that's a strong drive.
It's a drive.
Yeah, about an hour and a half each direction. That and to work all day in the heat and then drive home. Yeah, it's not great. Um, they also feature a wide variety of foods inspired by both medieval cuisine and typical American food fare, like corn dogs. Some foods like turkey legs, steak on a stick, and bread bowls have become iconic to Renaissance festivals. Beer, meat, and wine are also common. Games include typical fair events such as archery, axe throwing, and dunk tanks. Rides are typically not machine powered. Various animal rides and human powered swings are common. As are live animal displays and falconry exhibits. Large Renaissance fairs often include a joust as a main attraction. PETA and Born Free USA have protested the use of elephants and camels at the Maryland Renaissance Festival and Arizona Renaissance Festival. I could tell you that those, uh, from being back behind the scenes, those elephants and camels get really tired, especially at the end of the day when it's really hot.
Sure. They also have a king
But they are
and
not
queen.
mistreated. I would not say that
Right.
they are necessarily mistreated. That there's one camel, a dromedary, that probably lives better than I do. I know for a fact.
They also have a king and a queen that walk around, and they have a
Yes.
parade with them. And
Yes. So there is one, isn't there one in the valley as well? Down
I
where
don't know.
we
I was thinking about that. I have no idea if there's one down here or not.
in the links, I have put a link to basically a Renaissance Fair database. It's kind of
Hmm.
an older website, but you could basically type in your town. It'll show all the Renaissance that are closest to you and when they happen. So I did include that because I was like, oh, this would be really handy if they want to go check out Renaissance fairs.
Looking
In
at
the
a
last few years, they're
looking
yeah,
at a website that's therenlist.com, and it
yep,
doesn't show one in the valley.
not one in the valley.
Uh,
So I guess TRF's probably the closest one to you.
yeah, and that's Conroe.
Oh, Conroe in Houston?
Oh no, yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
just
that's
north of
Conroe.
Houston. Yeah.
There's a New Braunfels one, Ren Fair, the Dickens up in Houston, Texas Viking Festival. Interesting.
Yeah, I've got a friend who's in Chicago. Theirs is all a big Viking thing every year.
Interesting.
Um, yeah, oh, it looks like a lot of fun. Um, it's a it's a nerdy thing that we've all kind of done over the years.
Oh God, I used to go every year for a while.
Yeah, dress up.
I never
Yeah,
dressed
go and
up.
dress up.
I never dressed up.
Be drunk all day. Eat, eat.
Drinking was always definitely a part of it, but I didn't drink. But I definitely did not.
Food. Oh, I've dressed up several times.
I just never did.
Oh yeah, never did the dress up.
Uh-uh.
It's fun. It can get a little warm. I'd like to see some of the ones in like October. I think those would be awesome, especially if you wanted to dress up. Um, how do I put it? It's like a nerdy thing. It's the turkey legs are always great. Roast turkey legs. I don't even know what they put on the seasoning, but they're
They
delicious,
are.
and it's something that people go specifically to the Red Fair to get because nobody else does them that way. Sugared and spiced nuts in little containers, where you just got these nice sugary walnuts or pecans. Oh my God, they're delicious.
The Texas Ren Fest shows to be in Todd Mission, Texas, which
Yeah,
I think it's near Conroe, but that goes
yeah.
October 12th to December 1.
See, that's perfect. They just did a documentary about that. The guy that runs that's kind of a weirdo, but apparently he's run it since the 70s. So
Huh.
he's a bit of a weird. And he's getting on up there too.
Yeah,
But
there's
yeah, this.
definitely check out the renlist.com. I mean, there's a map which shows where they all are. There's a bunch in California. There's a whole bunch in the Northeast.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the weather's a little more conducive too, I would think, up there. Especially like the Dickens stuff, because nobody wants to be dressed as a Victorian in the middle of summer here. That'd be
Look,
death.
it looks like looking
And
from
in
this
addition
map,
to stage,
you have Ren Fests, you have pirate festivals, Viking festivals, and Celtic festivals. And then what is this one? What is the
Mhm.
butterfly? It's fantasy festivals.
No, yeah. There's fantasy festivals. A lot of them now have like a steampunk festival, or there's steampunk sections to festivals now.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's a lot. Um, it's getting out there, and some of that stuff is just amazing. Um, in addition to stage performances, a major attraction of Renaissance fairs are the professional and amateur crowds of actors who play historical figures, roaming the fairgrounds and interacting with visitors. Some allow visitors to bring peace-bonded weapons, while others only allow fair employees to wear them. The Renaissance fair subculture word for costume guests is platrons, or a portmanteau of the word player and patron. This adds enjoyment to guests' experience by getting into the act as Renaissance lords and ladies, peasants, pirates, belly dancers, or fantasy characters. However, many Renaissance fairs discourage interaction between the official cast and so-called platrons. Most fairs have an end-of-the-day ritual parade, dance, or concert where all employees gather and bid farewell to the patrons. Renaissance fairs are staged around the world at different times of the year. Fair vendors, actors, and crew often work by going from event to event as one fair ends and another begins. Um, so in post-World War II America, there was a resurgence of interest in medieval and Renaissance culture. Folk music and traditionalist John Langstaff gained popularity in the 1950s as part of the early music revival trend. In 1957, Langstaff hosted a Christmas mask of traditional revels in New York City, and another the following year in Washington, D.C. A televised version was broadcast on the Hallmark Hall of Fame in 1966, which included Dustin Hoffman playing the part of a dragon slain by St. George. In 1971, Langstaff established a permanent Christmas revels in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And at the same time, in 1963, school teacher Phyllis Patterson held a small Renaissance fair in Los Angeles, using the backyard of her Laurel Canyon home in the Hollywood Hills as the fairgrounds. On May 11th and 12th of 63, Patterson and her husband, Ron Patterson, presented the first Renaissance Pleasure Fair as a one-weekend fundraiser for a radio station, drawing some 8,000 people. The living history.
Hang on. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Say that about Phyllis Patterson again.
Okay. In 1963, a school teacher named Phyllis Patterson held a small Renaissance fair as a class activity using the backyard of her Laurel Canyon home, along with her husband, Ron Patterson. They presented the first Renaissance Pleasure Fair as a one-weekend fundraiser for a radio station. Many of the original booths were free of charge reenactments of historical activities, including printing presses and blacksmiths. The first commercial vendors were artisans and food merchants, and had to demonstrate historical accuracy or plausibility of their wares. Volunteers were organized into guilds to focus on specific reenactment roles. Both actors and vendors were required to stay in character while working by speaking with period accents and mannerisms. The original Renaissance Pleasure Fair of Southern California was held in the spring of 66 at the Paramount Ranch. So they went from 63 to 66, focusing on the practices of Old English springtime markets and Maying customs. And in 1967, the Pattersons created the Fall Renaissance Fair with the Harvest Festival theme and was now China Camp State Park in San Rafael, California. And it is still going today. So they started in 63. They didn't do another one until 66. But basically since 66, they've been doing it every year since then. And that's basically the start of this whole Renaissance Fair thing. That's where it leapt all over the world. Of course, you've got the Christmas fairs, which are usually Charles Dickens based. Germany has seen a very similar phenomenon since the 1980s, and fairs have grown increasingly popular in Canada and Australia. So it just kind of started in California and New York, and it basically spread throughout the country. I know that ours, Scarborough Fair, started in 1981, I believe. Texas Renaissance Festival started in like 72 or 73. So it's been going a long time. Texas Renaissance Festival is also, quote unquote, the biggest. As a matter of fact, they have their own town, which is what Todd Mission is. They got to incorporate a town. They're so big. And then there's several others that have been going on, like the Viking Fair up in Chicago has been going on quite a while. I think we had one called Hawkwood in the 90s, which was really popular, but they ran afoul of some licensing and some other things. I think there were some underage participants at some drinking bacchanalias that were going on. And so they got shut down. A lot of those people ended up going to TRF. Some of the organizers started Sherwood after that, and that's Sherwood's been going on since then. So, and the Viking festivals, things like that. I can tell you that it's a great day out. Some I would recommend more than others, but I mean, like, there's some great shows. The Mud Show, the shortened version of the complete works of William Shakespeare started at a Renaissance festival. And it is an incredible show if you've never seen it. The Mud Show. That's toured all over the country.
The Mud Show, yeah. I knew they toured all over the country. Mud. Yeah, they're hysterical. I knew they toured all over the country. I think the Insulter tours as well.
Oh, Christoph the Insulter?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that guy's so funny.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, it's amazing. But everybody's in an English accent, even though that's actually not correct. Back then, they actually sounded like they were from Georgia, not from England. It's true. Yeah. The England in the 50s sounded more like what you would hear in the middle of Savannah, Georgia, than what you would hear in London today.
Huh.
It merged in two different directions after that. That's why Shakespeare sounds so good in a Southern accent, because that's actually the way it was supposed to be spoken. But, it's one of those things. People don't write accents and stuff down, or at least they didn't back then. So it's kind of hard to transfer that information. It requires linguists. But yeah, that's about it for Ren fairs, other than if you got one in your area or close to you, drive out, spend an afternoon. You're going to spend about the same amount of money you're going to spend at a theme park, and you may have more fun. Just keep in mind, some of those handcraft things, yes, they do seem expensive. That mug that I held up earlier, is from 2002. It says so on the mug itself. We've had it and use it regularly. It's probably the best coffee mug we have in the house.
Yeah, depending on
Uh,
the size, you say spend an afternoon, but something like like Texas Ren Fest, that's a whole day thing
yeah,
if you're going to go through the whole thing because
it's
um,
huge.
Scarborough Fair was the one that we always went to, but we went to Ren Fest once, and yeah, I was shocked at how massive it was compared to Scarborough Fair. It's
Yeah,
huge.
yeah. Scarborough Fair's not small.
No, not at all.
There are some that are smaller, but yeah, there's a lot out there, and
Yeah, you can definitely spend more than an
if you're
afternoon
in
for sure.
Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I've heard the ones in Europe are even bigger, and they're more into we have the staging where it kind of looks Renaissance-y and stuff like that. They get pretty close. They're all about accuracy. So when you walk into theirs, it's like walking into a medieval town, although they actually have medieval towns, so it might be a little easier for them.
Well, I
But
mean,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's how
it's
Scarborough Fair is
those
set
are a
up.
lot of
It's like
fun.
Scarborough Fair is like a medieval town. It's what it looks like, and that's what Renfest looks like as
Yeah, a little
well.
medieval town.
Yeah, there's very few modern things you're going to see at a Renfest. You're going to see computer cash registers in some places
Mhm.
and Apple Pay and things like that,
Yeah,
and ATMs and or ye old ATM,
yeah.
I think is what it's labeled.
Ye old ATM.
But for the most part, it's very period accurate in the buildings and in their
Mhm.
clothes and everything like that. It's really a cool thing. Take a group, take your family,
Yeah,
take a group, and just have a blast.
yeah. My older kids grew up in and around it because Cree would take them with her when
Hmm.
they were little. And they love them. Yeah, it's what they do. It's just like part of who they are. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. But
Awesome,
definitely get out there and check it out. Renaissance festivals,
awesome, good topic.
Ren fairs. Okay,
All right, with that, then I'll take over on the murdery side of the house.
murder.
For today, I got my information off Wikipedia, Crime Library, and Murderpedia, and this is the story of William Suff.
William Suff.
William Suff.
Suff.
So William Lester Suff, who was born August 20th, 1950, was also known as the Riverside Prostitute Killer and the Lake Elsinore Killer. Um, in 1974, a Texas jury convicted Suff and his then wife Terrell of beating their 2-year-old daughter to death. The Texas Court of Criminal Appeals later reversed Terrell's conviction but upheld Suff's in Suff versus State, finding insufficient evidence to convict her as either the primary actor or principal in their baby's murder. Terrell claimed that Suff was physically abusive to her during their marriage. Suff was sentenced to 70 years in a Texas prison, but he only served 10 before his 1984 release on parole, which is when his reign of terror would begin. On January 10th,
Wait a
1989,
minute. He
yes,
got 70 years
yep,
and served 10?
yep.
They must have been trying to clear the prisons out.
I don't know. This was 1984, so I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
But um, on January 10th, 1989, Rhonda Jetmore, who was a 27-year-old prostitute, entered into a sexual transaction with Suff. Their agreement turned violent when he began choking her, and she struck him with a flashlight she had in her hand, which caused Suff to lose his grip, allowing her to briefly escape. He then tackled her to the ground and began ripping off her clothes. He stuck a finger in her mouth, and she bit down, causing one of her teeth to break. That's how hard she bit on his finger.
Shit.
Uh,
I shouldn't bite it off.
yeah. Suff pulled back, and Jetmore was able to run to the door, but then she was tackled again, and she pleaded with Suff to let her go, and he lost track of his glasses. She used her flashlight to shine a light on them when Suff went to pick his glasses up, and she ran out the door and flagged down a car. The passenger, who she happened to know, pulled out a gun and fired at Suff, and she was able to escape, so she lived. On June 28th, 1989, Kimberly Lytle, was found manually strangled to death on the side of the road in Lake Elsinore. Her autopsy revealed that she had been hit in the head and she had cigarette burns on her arms and other areas of her body, which were all injuries that occurred prior to her death. She was covered with a blue bath towel, which was found to have red, white, and blue fibers that were later matched to a sleeping bag in Suff's van. On December 13th, 1989, the body of Christina Leal, who's 23, was found strangled and stabbed to death on a Quail Valley hillside, which is in Riverside County, and she was last seen the night before. Her autopsy revealed marks around her wrists and ankles, indicating she was bound. There were scratch marks on her face, a black eye, and 4 stab wounds in the middle of her chest. At least 2 knife wounds on her genitalia, and one of her nipples was partially removed, and this was all done ante-mortem. There was a light bulb that had been inserted into her uterus and was recovered intact. They did find samples of Suff's hair and fibers from a pillow, blanket, and sleeping bag that were later found inside of Suff's vans that were recovered near her body. Other fibers, which were found on Suff's car seat, matched that of a T-shirt and sock that was found on Leal's body.
Oh shit! Riverside County's right at the edge of the Sam Houston National Forest.
Uh-huh.
I bet they found a way more than that.
On January 18th, 1990, so I mean we're now 4 people in the span of months.
Yeah.
Darla Ferguson, 23, was strangled in Riverside just a half mile from the body of Kimberly Lytle. She was found with her legs propped up and a trash bag pulled over the top half of her body, tied at the waist with a rope. Her wrists had been bound and she suffered blunt force trauma before death. And there were tire tracks that were found that matched the other crime scenes that were later attributed to Suff. On February 9th, 1990, Carol Miller, who was 35, was found nude with the exception of a shirt pulled over her head in a grapefruit orchard in Highgrove. The frenulum connecting her upper lip to her gums was torn, indicating she was struggling while being smothered. But she had no trauma to her neck. She was stabbed 5 times prior to her death. Next to her body was a peeled and eaten grapefruit, and pubic hairs were discovered on her, which were later matched to William Suff. Then he went a few months. On October 6, 1990, the body of Cheryl Choker, who was 33, was found in Riverside, partially inside a dumpster. She was found strangled to death, possibly with a wire, and with such great force it cut the skin of her neck. Her right breast had been severed post-mortem and was found on a dirt road 30 feet away. And there was a shoe print matching the size, shape, pattern, and wear of shoes belonging to Suff, which that were found at the scene. December 21st, 1990, Susan Sternfeld, who's 27, was found strangled.
God, he's killing them once a month.
Well, almost once a month. I mean, between February and November of 90, we don't have anybody, but doesn't mean he wasn't.
Yeah. Which means they weren't found yet, especially where he's hunting.
Susan Sternfeld, she was found strangled, nude, and intentionally posed near a dumpster in Riverside. Investigators on the scene recognized her as a local prostitute and drug addict. On January 19th, 1991, the body of Kathleen Milne, also known as Kathy Puckett, was found nude lying on a red robe near a pile of trash north of Lake Elsinore. A white sock had been stuffed in the back of her throat, and her death was ruled asphyxiation due to the combination of strangulation and the sock blocking her airway. And according to autopsy reports, she had been dead less than 24 hours when she had been found. We then go several months, and actually, I'm sorry. So from these discoveries, Susan Sternfeld was December 21st, 1990. Oh no, a month later, 91. And then we January 1991, and then we're going to go to July 1991, July 4th. Wait.
I thought he was convicted in Texas, right?
He was.
Okay, so I'm looking all this stuff up. Lake Elsinore's in California.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't figure if you were on parole, you'd get out. Well, I mean, it was 5 years after he got out. So
right.
Okay, I'm with you now. I am so sorry.
Well, and I think what you're alluding to is you're not supposed to leave the state and you're on probation, everything like that. That doesn't mean he didn't.
That's true.
You know, they could have been looking for him in Texas. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? July 4th, 1991, Sherry Latham, 37, was found nude face down in Lake Elsinore. She was a known prostitute and drug user, and her cause of death was determined to be strangulation, but due to decomposition, no determination could be made on the method. Her hand was wrapped around some nearby branches, suggesting she was still alive, trying to crawl away when the killer left.
Wow.
August 15th, 1991, Kelly Hammond, 27, of Rubidoux, was found strangled in an alley in Corona. Earlier in the day, a man driving a gray van picked up a prostitute near University of California. The woman told investigators that everything was going fine at first, but then the John became angry and began assaulting her for no reason. She was able to jump out of the vehicle and run down the street, and the man sped off. However, he stopped at a nearby corner and picked up her friend, Kelly Hammond, and later that night, Kelly was found dead. Her nude body appeared to be posed. Her right arm was bent and tucked under her abdomen, and her left arm was bent with her hand on the ground and palm facing upward, with her left leg drawn to her chest, and her right leg was extended outward. She had 2 lacerations, which occurred prior to her death, on her forehead. Her autopsy revealed her death to be caused by strangulation with acute opiate intoxication, which was a possible contributing factor. The woman who escaped was able to help investigators create a composite sketch of the man in his vehicle, and an APB was quickly issued within hours, and newspapers and TV stations were broadcasting the killer's likeness. On September 13th, 1991, Catherine McDonald, at 30, was the only black victim attributed to Suff, and she was found in Lake Elsinore. Her body was also posed. Her legs were spread apart, but her feet were together and her arms outstretched to the top of her head. She was 4 months pregnant.
Ugh.
Before she died, she was stabbed in the chest 3 times. She also had a gaping cut on the left side of her neck. Her right breast was removed post-mortem, and she suffered a stab wound as well as other lacerations to her genitals some before and after her death. Her official cause of death was multiple stab wounds to the neck as well as compression, and shoe prints of the same pattern as the other murders were also near McDonald's body. Investigators believed at the time that the killer must have seen or heard the broadcast saying he preyed exclusively on white women, so they believed he changed his MO to show the media who was in charge. On October 30th, 1991, the body of Delilah Zamora, who's 35, was found strangled in Glen Avon. The man who found her thought at first it was just a mannequin. Just FYI, it's never a mannequin.
It's never a mannequin. Well, except for that one time when you ran across that that wreck and you thought it was somebody's leg and it turned out to be a wooden leg.
It was a prosthetic leg, but I mean, It wasn't a mannequin.
No, it was not a mannequin. That's true.
Delilah was also a prostitute drug user, and she was the mother of 5. She had fingernail injuries consistent with clawing at a ligature, though method was unable to be determined. Her larynx was crushed and broken down the middle, which would require an extreme amount of pressure. December 31st, 1991, Eleanor Cesares, 39, was found in an orange grove near the intersection of Jefferson Street and Victoria Avenue in Riverside, just down the street from the Riverside Police Station. The 39-year-old
brazen.
The 39-year-old prostitute and drug addict was stabbed in the chest and strangled, and her breast was removed post-mortem. And the police were convinced the proximity of the body to the police station was for the killer to make fools out of them. A number of additional murders were attributed to Suff, though he was never charged, with the exception of Cherie Pacer. On October 29, 1986, Michelle Gutierrez was found in a drainage ditch in the Riverside area. On December 10th, 1986, Charlotte Palmer was found near Romoland, though the cause of her death could not be determined. Authorities believe she was smothered. On April 29th, 1998, Linda Ortega was found nude and stabbed to death near the rodeo grounds in Lake Elsinore. On May 2nd, 1988, the nude body of Martha Young of Albuquerque was found just a few miles away from Linda Ortega. Her cause of death was determined to be a combination of strangulation and overdose of amphetamines. She was previously reported missing first by her boyfriend, Joseph Shiflett, who called her mother on April 10th, 1988, and then officially by her mother 17 days later. It's kind of weird.
Mm-hmm.
On January 17th, 1989, Dana Talavera was found strangled on the beach in Lake Elsinore. On November 11th, 1989, the body of Julie Angel was found bludgeoned to death in Aberhill on a street her mother drove every day for work.
So we don't know that he started in February of 89, but we're pretty sure that from 86 to 89, this was all him as well.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because these that I'm talking about right now, they couldn't directly connect to him except for the one I'm about to talk about. On April 27th, 1991, Cherie Pacer, who was 24, was found on a flower bed behind a bowling alley in Riverside. She was initially found nude, but a patron covered her body with a jean jacket before police arrived. She had been hit in the face, and although no official cause of death could be determined, she was thought to have been suffocated. There were a number of shoe prints left at the scene, including a partial shoe print on the small of Pacer's back. The analyzed shoe impressions were thought to be the same as the prints from the scene of the Cheryl Coker murder. Semen collected from Pacer's body revealed 2 donors, rendering the results inclusive. The most intensive bands, however, did match Suff, so he could not be excluded as a donor. So Suff was charged with Pacer's murder, but the jury was deadlocked and he was not convicted of hers. Subsequently, William Suff raped, tortured, stabbed, strangled, and sometimes mutilated 12 or more women in Riverside County between June 28, 1989 and December 23rd, 1991. Again, these are the ones they could prove.
They could pin on him.
There were potentially others.
Yeah.
On January 9th, 1992, William Suff was arrested after a routine traffic stop when a police officer noticed Suff's van made an illegal U-turn and matched it to the description in the APB. Suff appeared to be polite, but when they ran his name through the computer, they discovered his license was suspended and his registration expired. That was a little odd to me that they discovered his registration was expired after running his name. I guess maybe in California at the time they didn't have stickers on the cars like we do now.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a good point.
But I mean, regardless, he was then transported to the Riverside police station for questioning. Inside the van, they found a bloody knife and objects believed to be related to the killings. Suff was working as a warehouse clerk for Riverside County when he was arrested, having been hired while still on parole from Texas. During his time in this job, William Suff delivered office furniture to the officers on the task force who were investigating his killing spree.
Oh, no shit.
It has been rumored, but never confirmed, that William Suff used 2 of his victims' breasts in chilies he prepared for the Riverside County employees' annual picnic. Never confirmed, but it's been rumored. On July 19th, 1995, a Riverside County jury found William Suff guilty of killing 12 women and attempting to kill another, though police suspected him of being responsible for as many as 22 deaths. William Suff did not testify in his defense. In closing arguments, the prosecutor, Paul Zellerbach, described Suff as, quote, as a truly evil serial killer. During the penalty phase that followed, the prosecutor presented evidence linking Suff to the 1988 murder of San Bernardino woman, as well as evidence that despite his prior Texas prison term for murdering his first daughter, he abused and violently shook his 3-month-old daughter by his second wife. On August 17th, 1995, after deliberating for only 10 minutes.
10 minutes? They didn't even get a lunch order in.
The jury returned verdicts of guilty on 12 murder counts and on 1 count of attempted murder.
Fuck, it takes them 5 minutes to get into the room.
The jury could not unanimously agree to find him guilty on a 13th count of murder. But on October 26, 1995, the trial court followed the jury's verdict and ordered Suff condemned to death. Suff resides on death row to this day at San Quentin State Prison. He did appeal his sentence in 2014, and it was rejected by the California Supreme Court, which upheld the death penalty. But from prison, he still continues to maintain his innocence and claim police used him as a scapegoat. Despite all the evidence they found.
Even a bloody knife in the back of his van.
Well, the fibers and his shoe prints and everything like that. I mean, there was plenty of evidence there. So
his semen.
Well, they couldn't conclusively.
Yeah.
So,
Now, if they still got the sample.
Yes. Yes, they still have the sample, and there were, could be, could not conclusive, but definitely could
Yeah.
tie him to it. So
No, he ain't getting out of San Quentin anytime soon.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so. I didn't find any updates past 2014, so I'm assuming he's still
Was
there.
there anything on his childhood
No, I
trauma or
didn't
anything?
find a whole lot about that at all.
Huh.
Really didn't find anything about his background. It was just really all about the murders itself, all the
Right
news
on.
stories and everything like that. So nothing really about that. So I don't know what turned him.
What broke him?
Yeah, I mean something obviously did,
Yeah.
but no, don't know. Anyway, that's my story for today.
Well, thank you, sir. That was actually quite fascinating.
Awesome. Well, that will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerderymurdery.com. That's our hub for everything that we talk about. You'll find links to the episode as well as pictures that relate to this episode, and you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Yes, we have little videos about Renaissance fairs, how they work, what they're around, and some images and things to kind of explain them to you a little bit more. It would be better if you got out and saw them for yourself, but this will kind of give you what you're in store for.
Awesome. Thank you for that. On our website, you can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from that. That, along with our patrons, you can find the link to our Patreon account, to our Patreon page, where you not only get early episode releases from us, but it's also a way, along with our merchandise, to help keep us going with the show, as there are costs involved with keeping our website going, our uploads, and everything that you so all enjoy. So we appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we talk about. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.